Hi, this is Shadi, and today we will discuss the first ever written judo rule set that was created by Jigoro Kano himself. You see it here on the thumbnail. That was the first ever draft of the rules. So this video we're gonna go through it, but before I do that, I just want to say that judo back then was very small. I know a lot of people are gonna say bring it back to the way it was, but now judo is a behemoth. It's a lot of people will try to outsmart the rules. A lot of people will try to create some tactics and find loopholes, since the more simpler the rules are, the easier it is to go around them, in my opinion. So now that it is such a big sport, people from all over the world are coming in to do it and to practice it and compete in it. Not everyone will have the best intentions, so in my opinion, going a little bit in details when it comes to the rules is better, because judo itself is a very detailed art. So today we're gonna go through the foundation. Now, I'm not saying I agree with all the rules right now, but this is just my opinion, because like I said, a lot of people will try to find loopholes. The more simpler the rules, the more easy it is to evade them. So without any further ado, this is actually from the original Kodokan judo tournament rules by H. Irving Hancock and Katsukuma Higashi, the complete Kano Jiu-Jitsu in 1905. So I will leave a link in the description below for you to read the rules, of course. So I'm gonna read them and discuss each one by one. So without any further ado, rule number 1: each contestant shall wear coat and belt. So notice how it says there's no need for pants. Notice how it says the coat is not to the elbow or to the wrist bone like today. Notice how it doesn't say it has to be thick. It has to be the gi material, or the old kimonos, like very thin cloth. It doesn't say anything. So like I said, you can very much cheat a lot with the first ever rule. So this is the first one. Now, I agree there should be regulations when it comes to the gi, in order to offer a fair chance for both contestants. So this is what I mean by the simpler the rules, the easier it is to go around them. Rule number 2: a contestant shall be deemed to have been defeated when his two shoulders and hips shall have touched the floor, provided that said contestant shall have reached this position on the floor through having been thrown down. So this is basically describing the ippon throw. By the ippon throw, like I said, you need to have both shoulders flat and hips, so mainly landing flat on your back basically. And it says after having been thrown. So like I said, people will try to go around it. So if I go, for example, for Tomoe Nage, people will say he's been flattened on his back, but that's not actually the case. So here he's trying to be a little bit more specific, that you have to be thrown down and as a result you need to have your back flat. So obviously there was no wazari, there was no yuko, there was no koka. So just the fact that for example, if someone landed on his side, people would have engaged in osaikomi or newaza, rather than scoring wazari and having the referee interfere. So this rule in particular, being solely flat on your back, is something that I like a little bit. For example, now the wazari and the ippon is, in my opinion, awesome. Yuko and koka, someone falling on their butts is a score, and then they stall, not so much. But this one in particular I like, especially like if you want to go a little bit extreme and say there's no wazari, you can engage a little bit more newaza. But the fact that there's wazari, in my opinion, is a good thing. So because it is controlled, etc. But at the last second, uke just fell, like rotated to their side in order to avoid the full ippon. So ippon and wazari, in my opinion, are the best choice we have now. So rule number 3: a contestant shall be deemed to have been defeated when in such position on the floor if said combatant cannot free himself from his opponent's arm within 2 seconds time. So basically describing osaikomi or the pin, it was just 2 seconds back then. So this is amazing to think about it, because how many of old records and memoirs, or talking about all the events where they said he beat him with Yoko Shiogatame, he beat him with Tate Shiogatame, especially the Kosen Judo. So it was just 2 seconds. How many of you now today can get out of a side control in just 2 seconds? I don't see it. Unless like they like create a very big opening, they're on all fours when doing Yoko Shiogatame rather than flat on their stomach, and there's like big space, then you can recover guard. But other than that, I don't see anyone, especially in PJJ, with their escapes like elbow and knee escapes, that will take seconds and seconds and seconds. So even for osaikomi today, it's still not good. So now we have it 20 seconds. Anything between 10 and 19 seconds is wazari, and 20 is obviously ippon. Before that, it was 25 seconds. So here you see 2 seconds, in my opinion, is a bit extreme. 2 seconds is nothing in order to not only physically but also psychologically subdue someone, and also you can win very easily in 2 seconds, even though you haven't earned it. So it's a bit like wrestling. Like today you have the 1 second, but here it doesn't say that the shoulders have to be like flat on the back on the floor. For example, in wrestling you need to have both your shoulders incredibly flat. Catch wrestling as well, and it's 1 second for freestyle and Greco, and it is 3 seconds for catch, if I'm not mistaken. But here, for example, even if you wiggle out like you're trying to do shrimping, etc., and he's still catching you, 2 seconds and it's gone. I don't too much agree with that. I prefer today's osaikomi system. If you cannot fully get out, even if you're like wobbling and shrimping and trying to do all that stuff and you cannot get out, in my opinion, that's a real victory if they can keep you for 20 seconds under them, or at least 10 to 19 seconds. So 2 seconds is too quick, especially in the judo context. Like if they can still move their shoulders and their hips, maybe they're trying to shrimp and do like recover guard, and they can, but 2 seconds is just far too short, in my opinion. Rule number 4: a contestant shall be deemed to have been defeated when any cause or causes he may become unconscious, but it is not permitted to use serious trick when the wrestling bout is between friends. Such tricks as kicking and the breaking of arms, legs, and neck are barred. So here it's talking first. The first part is may he become unconscious, meaning that obviously the choke, you either, when you lose consciousness, obviously you lost. Here it continues to say it is not permitted to use serious trick when the wrestling bouts is between friends. So such as kicking and breaking of arms, legs, neck are barred. So I don't understand. I think he meant that don't use judo when you're with your friends or like having fun, or because like a lot of the time when we teach kids, we tell them don't use this stuff at school. I think this is what he's trying to allude. I think because breaking arms, legs, etc. were part of competition back then. Even the neck, notice how he says neck, so neck cranks as well. Kicking, obviously there's no kicking even back then. So I believe this is, people between friends. He's not talking about the competition. So I believe that, when you're out in the real world, etc., when you are with your friends, don't have fun with them using judo. I believe this is what he meant. So, we still tell this to kids and adults as well. There's nothing wrong with this rule. I 100% agree, unless it is for self-defense. So, number 5. A combatant shall be deemed to have been defeated when he has been reduced to submission through the employment by his opponent of any hold or trick. This is obviously talking about submission. Neck cranks, leg locks, wrist locks, all of it was obviously permitted back then. So do I agree? Well, yeah, obviously you have to respect the tap. You have to stop immediately. This is when he says that shall be deemed when he has been reduced to submission. So obviously, I mean, there's nothing to dispute here. The neck ranks and spine locks, maybe they're dangerous. Finger locks as well. It's a very dirty trick, even in jiu-jitsu. Like when Cyborg tried to do that on Gordon Ryan. So finger locks, spine locks, in my opinion, are a bad idea. Leg locks, we can maybe spare one or two to be used in competition. Again, this is for, a moral and good practice to be done, not necessarily just rip out ACLs. Not necessarily everyone wants to do that. So in my opinion, maybe one leg lock or two. And if someone says, I don't want leg locks for safety reasons, even like when you're recovering, you have to walk on your legs. You don't want to be in a wheelchair when recovering, when we saw James Wilkes in the Game Changers, he's in a wheelchair. Nobody wants that. So no victory is worth putting someone through this, in my opinion. So even if someone says I don't want leg locks, and a lot of people comment that because they have a permanent limp from surgery, etc., I understand. But spine locks and finger locks especially, I am very much against. So number 6, when a defeated combatant finds himself obliged to acknowledge his submission, meaning tapping out, he must pat or hit the floor or his antagonist's body or somewhere with his hand or foot. This patting with foot or hand is to be regarded as a token of surrender. So meaning the tap, I believe this is the invention of the tap. Is there any evidence that the tap existed before that? Maybe the catch wrestlers can tell me, but this is obviously referring to explaining the tap, and we should respect it. Sometimes judokas would clap. Sometimes, like normally, we tap on our training partner's body in order to let them know that we surrender, because if I tap somewhere else, sometimes they might not see it or feel it or hear it. So I think antagonist's body is the best place to tap out. Or if for example your hands are stuck, if you're in an armbar and both your hands are stuck in a very bad position, you can verbal tap as well. Number 7, when a defeated combatant pats or hits the floor or anywhere in token of submission, the victor must at once let go of his hold. So respect the tap, basically saying this is a very, very important rule for ethical reasons, and also to show respect and courtesy of judo. A lot of people don't let go, and till this day, and it is very appalling as a way of to conduct yourself. So always respect the tap. The moment, you don't need to wait for 3 taps. Just the moment you feel them tapping, just let go immediately. Number 8, it is understood and agreed that the jiu-jitsu man, whether he fights a boxer or contests with a wrestler, shall be allowed to use in his defense any of the tricks that belong to the art of jiu-jitsu. I will apply that even till this day, meaning if there's anything that's banned in judo, for example in randori of judo, I'm gonna use it against a wrestler or a boxer, meaning double leg takedowns, meaning leg locks, meaning neck cranks. Well, not spine locks, but neck cranks. All of it, you can use it as a way to win, because they will use stuff that you yourself don't have in judo. So in my opinion, this is a very fine rule, but like I said, don't use it to sadistically hurt someone. Basically just subdue them and win fairly. But he's basically telling you that use the arsenal of judo incomplete against someone of other arts in order to show what should, not necessarily to show superiority, but this is mainly to show what judo is completely capable of. I know there's stuff that we ban against each other in judo, but that doesn't mean that you have to use them somewhere else. because not all the rules are made for safety. This is mainly to take the art in a specific directions. Like shooting, for example, I advocate that it should come from the kumikata, the leg grab, and not from shooting. You should be able to demonstrate control and also control the upper body and then go to the lower body. So, number 9. It is further understood and agreed that the Jiu-Jitsu man assumes no responsibility for any injury or injuries caused by any act or thing done the contest, and the Jiu-Jitsu man shall be held free and blameless for any such ill effect or injury that may caused or received during the contest. This is basically saying that if you accidentally injure someone or maybe flatten them out on their back and they lost consciousness, you hold no responsibility, or maybe at least legal. At least this is what I understand. This is not considered a legal matter, or because it happens. So if like you hurt someone accidentally, yes, you should take care of them, etc. But you should not be like put to blame unless you are doing it on purpose and you're hurting. I don't know. This seems very black and white, because I can use this very much if I'm someone that's like malicious, I can use this rule for my benefit and claim like, whoops, I didn't do anything, I was just playing the game, I'm blameless. So I don't agree 100% by this. For example, I don't know, like if I drop someone with teguruma flat on the top of their head, that's pretty much sadistic. So, but for example, if they tap and they continue to do the hold, then yeah, they should be held accountable, obviously. But this is a very gray rule, so I don't know. Number 10, 2 competent witnesses representing each side, or 4 in all, shall see it that these articles of agreement are properly drawn, signed and witnessed to the end, that neither contestant or other participant in the match shall have cause for action on any ground or grounds resulting from any injury on injuries or death caused during the contest. So basically this is putting the referees and also multiple witnesses in order to really assess what happened in case something serious happens, and I agree, this is what should happen. So that's mainly it. There's the article is finished with a quote by Sakujiro Yokoyama. So it says, in those days contests were extremely rough and frequently cost the participants their lives. Thus, whenever I sallied forth to take part in any of those affairs, I invariably bade farewell to my parents. So basically like going to war, since I had no assurance that I should ever return alive. He said this in The Fighting Spirit of Japan by E.G. Harrison. This is actually pretty scary, and no sports contest is worth your life. I know we tend to romanticize things, and I'm a samurai and I make my bed and I clean my room before a fight, like Kosei Inoue. But please be careful with each other. There's no need to lose your life. If Teguruma ever comes back, or Kataguruma, don't lift and slam someone on the top of their head. Like I said, it's a very complicated and vast art, so I believe that going a little bit deeper in the rules, especially when it comes to specific techniques, holds, having the gi, etc., in my opinion, there should be a little bit more than that. This was just the first draft. Even Kano Sensei evolved his rules when he came a little bit later. For example, in the 20s, because a lot of people were doing hikikomi or pulling guard, he banned it in everything else other than Kosen Ruleset. Also the leg locks 1922, and 1925 the neck cranks, because also they are very dangerous. So unless you're playing against someone from other discipline, show them what judo is really about, but handle them with responsibility, in my opinion. Don't be sadistic, apply a submission, I don't know, maybe not everything, I don't know. This is up for grabs, and everyone can do what feel is right, but always be mindful of your opponent, because they're your training partner. Even in randori, they're not your enemy. Unless it's self-defense, then all gloves are off. So if you have anything else to add, let me know down below. Also, don't forget to check out Josh Simon's shop for historical t-shirts. I will leave the link in the description below. If you have anything else to add, let me know down below. This was Shadi, and thank you for listening.